Alright, here's my review on Cheryl Wundun's Our Country's Greatest Injustice and also Hans Rosling's The Magic Washing Machine. And I'm going to start with Hans Rosling's just because it was a little bit shorter and I really enjoyed his. First off, he talked about when he was 4 years old, he went into the room and his mom was using a washing machine. And it was the very first time their family had ever been able to afford a washing machine. And to him, it was a miracle, and especially to his grandma. And so his grandma comes in and just sees this and is so fascinated by the fact that by just pushing a button that it's going to wash your clothes and it's going to save you so much time. And so that's kind of how he hooked his audience. And then he goes on to tell us that in the world, in order to have economic growth, we're going to need to have population growth first. And so he talks about that even the environmentalists will use washing machines, and that's something that everyone needs. And so he had an interesting concept of if we have the world and we divide it up, we see that half of the world uses actually, a seventh of the world is going to use half of the energy that's available in the world. And so he talks about how if we can somehow transform and have people from this area jumping up and start using more machines. And so, for example, if we have the poorest of poor people have access to a washing machine, they're going to be able to prosper. And so basically what happens is if a culture has washing machines, they're going to have more time on their hands. So instead of spending all day long scrubbing clothes in the creek, you're going to press the button, it's going to go, and then what do you have to do? You're going to start educating people. And so basically every time someone is able to have more time on their hands, they're going to become more educated. And so that was the magic of his mother and his grandmother, is that they realized that now that I have so much time on my hands, I can educate my son. And so he began to being educated, and they read to him and teach him. And so then we have Cheryl Wundun's, and she captures us with talking about the real China. First she shows us a picture of China, and we see kind of an image of New York's Chinatown. And then she shows us the real China, and where children aren't going to school. And she tells a story about a girl named Diamond Ju. And Diamond Ju is in 6th grade, and once she was in 6th grade, her family pulled her out because they were no longer able to pay the school fees of only $13 a school year. And so Diamond Ju gets pulled out, and that's kind of the end of her until the New York Times comes in and donations were made and she was able to get back into school. And the fascinating thing about Diamond Ju is that, first of all, she's a woman, and we're talking about gender equality is one of the biggest central moral challenges in our culture today. And we see that because she was able to get back into school and learn, she changed her family, her household, her community, her village. Instead of the 2-hour trek that she was having to make to school, now they're building roads to where cars and buses can drive and transport the kids. And when you have, and when you educate a woman and aspire to have gender equality in the culture, so many amazing things are going to happen. We talked about how many women compared to men are in the world. And we see that there's actually more women because women live longer, except we have 60 to 100 million women that are missing in the population. And we see this because either women are aborted in cultures where their parents find out, oh, I'm going to have a daughter, and they don't want daughters, and so they abort their children, which I think is just horrible and very sad. Which is one thing I believe that all cultures can work on, is giving those babies a chance, and especially the daughters, and realizing that women are powerful and can change the nation. We see that women are discriminated in many, many cultures, especially in the developing worlds that we're studying. In Afghanistan, girls aren't, which is my adopted country that girls aren't valued as equals or important. And we see that in the ages of 0 to 1, so in the first year of a child's life, same chance of survival for both boys and girls. And the reason for this, because they're babies and they rely on breastfeeding. And breasts don't show any favoritism towards a male or a female baby. But then once we go to years 1 to 5, 50% mortality rate than girls. And so that's when girls begin to be neglected and not treated equally, and those key developmental years are not taken care of for the daughters. And so 50% more likely than boys to die. We also see that sex trafficking is an amazingly high number. We see that 800,000 trafficked out of the country borders, and that's not even including in the United States. And to me, that's just so sad and so depressing to see that women, so many women, 800,000 out of this country are trafficked. And it's all because people aren't seeing the value and seeing the power that women have. And it's true, Brother Meeker talked about in class how when he comes up with the 3 most influential women in his life, it was, or 3 most influential people in general in his life, all 3 of them were women. And I really do believe that women have so much power and so much worth that individuals who are involved in sex trafficking aren't seeing, and they need to see it, and laws need to be made to enforce that and to show that to their people. We see that a slave 100 years ago would go for about $40,000 in today's money. And so if I was a slave owner, I would have my slaves and they'd be worth $40,000. But today we see women being bought and sold as objects and just as a commodity for a few $100s. And if you're only spending a few $100s on things, it's easy to disrespect, to trash, and to get rid of those things, and to rape and kill these women. And what I really got out of this presentation, both of them, is how much women can be valued and how much we need gender equality in this world. And I believe that if we donate and we research and we care and we realize what's actually going on in the world, we'll be able to help all these women. We see that there was a girl named, I believe it was Mahalubu. She was in Ethiopia, and she got pregnant, and when she had the baby, she had something called obstructed fistula to her, which basically makes her stink very badly, and the tribe wanted to get rid of her. And so, while trying to get rid of her, they put her on the edge of a cliff and sent hyenas for her. But she ended up defending herself and getting herself out of the situation. And now she is safe. She had a $300 operation, and now she's able to survive and to thrive and help these women. And so how can we be more like her? And so we came up with a few different solutions. One woman was named Beatrice, and she had never been to school. And at 9 years of age, she entered the 1st grade. And she was the first person to come to the States on scholarships because she worked and she studied and she tried so hard, and now she's in the States and showing us that improvement can be made. And one thing my dad's always taught my family is that it doesn't matter where you are, just what direction you're going. And so I believe if we can become more aware and show the outside world, even in America, it needs to be shown that gender equality is important, we can improve and be a part of this movement. And if we have enough money to help the birds in the winter with bird feed, we can definitely help the women in other countries and our country realize their worth. And that's my review.